Good afternoon, welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name is Tristan Lowe and here we are, February 2024, and today's short subject matter is disease, avoiding disease. Okay, disease is something that at some point in our life we're all going to face, from pre-birth to just after birth, right until the day that we check out. Now, disease can be something that's hereditary, but also that can be something that's is a manifestation or a symptom of disease that can be brought on by our lifestyles. And of course, lifestyle decisions as an adult at the very earliest should be made at around the age of 13, maybe 14, at a real push, maybe 16. And that would include what we eat, what we don't eat, whether we exercise or whether we don't, where we live in the world, where we live in different cities, in towns, countries, what our professions are, who we surround ourselves with, as in work colleagues, family and friends, and our partners, our wives or our husbands. Okay, so let's look at something. When we look at disease, it's highly unlikely that every single person that I've met as a personal trainer has zero to little disease. We've all got it. Even if you look at something like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or obesity, they're all classed as disease. Now, we have to take things into account with our clients for what is giving them poor musculoskeletal health, what's giving them the excess fat storage, why have they got an addiction to alcohol or smoking or pharmaceuticals or some form of toxins, why have they got an addiction to eating processed food, because all of these things eventually they'll lead to some form of disease. Now, the actual word itself can sound quite an uncomfortable word or a subject matter. It's okay, because if you recognise that you've got a disease of some description, don't always think of disease as leprosy, or typhoid, or even sexually transmitted diseases, those from the past, syphilis, right across to HIV in the 80s, 90s and even 2000s. They're diseases that people would look at, understandably, as something that's for other people in other countries, that's for people who live a really poor life. But actually, diseases like poor cardiovascular health, obesity, poor musculoskeletal strength, osteoarthritis, all of those things are brought on by poor nutrition, poor sleep, poor or zero levels of exercise. Okay, and some people will sign up to all 3 or 4 of those poor lifestyle patterns, and that becomes a choice once you get past a certain age. Once you're classed as an adult, certainly 18, let's go right down to 14 or 15. Once you're classed as a young adult or an adult, that is up to yourself, especially legally at least, to take control of your physiological health and not rely on someone else. Now, that would be a case of, if you have a job, let's say you work part-time or full-time, that means you bring in some form of income, whether you live on your own, whether you live with your family, mum and dad, brothers and sisters, whether you live with friends, you're a student, or if you live with your girlfriend or boyfriend, okay, husband or wife. So there's all different ways of living with different people. Now, what happens is, sometimes the people that we live with or work with or actually live in the same area or postcode can have a genuine direct effect on our lifestyle patterns or our lifestyle choices. Example, if you live in a low income, we're talking monetary, a predominantly low income area, it's a high probability that there are going to be gambling shops, vaping shops, betting shops, whatever you want to call them, smoking, junk food outlets, all your different brands of junk food outlets that are deliberately put in your postcode, because essentially, as I've mentioned in a previous podcast, food manufacturers have essentially read the room and decided, okay, this is a predominantly low income area, so what we're going to do is put bad food outlets, junk food outlets, and flood the area with those sort of things. You very, very rarely see high quality, organic or even non-organic fruit and veg stalls or markets in predominantly low areas. Very rarely. And if you do, it's quite often someone who's opened up a fruit and veg stall from a different culture. So if you were to go into South American cultures, if you've got people that live in London from all over the world, they sometimes do actually open up markets of indigenous food to them, and they'll open it up as a business in the cities in the UK, which is not a bad thing actually. You get to try out different foods, but we're talking your big manufacturers, your KFCs, your burgers, your Wimpy's, your Domino's places, your McDonald's, all of those things. Now, what happens is you're drawn, okay? The balance of probability is that you're going to be drawn to eating in those sort of places, and therefore you are giving yourself a higher risk of acquiring some form of disease. And the obvious one would be excess fat storage or obesity, or in some cases now morbid obesity. Yep, and it's because you are geographically more predisposed to eating those kinds of foods. Even if it's not the norm for you, there'll be so many people around you that eat like that. You do become a product of your environment. Yeah, if you're the kind of person that is susceptible to actually following others and doing what others do and damaging your health because other people do it, my advice to you as a professional personal trainer is to remove yourself from that environment. Remove yourself from that workplace that you're in, where everybody brings in cakes on a Thursday, Friday. Everyone brings in biscuits and sweets and candies certainly on a Friday, but some people start their weekend on a Thursday. Yeah, so the obvious one to do is to not eat it. If you find that environment is perpetually cycles in your line of work, in your office, all right, it might sound like quite a draconian method, but actually remove yourself from that environment. Go and work in a healthier environment. Or if you've got the self-discipline and the education, the academic education and emotional intelligence, if you've got enough of those, that should be enough for you to actually stay working in that environment, but not subject yourself to eating junk food on a daily or at the very least a weekly basis because everybody else does. That leads to disease. Right, exercise-wise, if you choose not to exercise, that's your decision. As an adult man or woman, that is your decision not to exercise. And we've talked about exercise ad nauseum, and we will do in the future again. Now, if you don't strengthen your body, if you choose not to improve your cardiovascular health, okay, our body's ability to take in, transport and utilize oxygen, you are now giving yourself more chance, a higher probability of the onset of disease. And that will be obviously heart and your organ disease. Yep. And of course, again, excess fat storage, excess weight, obesity or morbid obesity. And those things like exercising, some people say, well, I went for a walk the other day, I walked my dog to the shop. Okay, that's not enough. And I know that you know that's not enough. It's enough fresh air. If you go and walk your dog for an hour a day, you're getting enough fresh air, but you might not be actually taking your body out of a complete comfort zone enough. So walk faster or walk for longer or walk up a hill. All right, now we have to take into account sleep patterns, poor sleep patterns. And I've trained a lot of people who've got poor sleep patterns. Now, what is a poor sleep pattern? I've had clients come to my centre, and in some form of way, they've almost self-diagnosed that they're insomniacs. I actually spent some time with a GP, a physician, a doctor, and to find out what is an insomniac. Now, an insomniac is someone who actually cannot get to sleep, okay? And on the rare occasion they do get to sleep, we're talking it's minutes, at the very most a couple of hours, and it goes on for months, if not years. If you've had poor sleep patterns for about a week or two, or even a month, that doesn't make you insomniac. It means you've got poor sleep patterns. Now that can be temporary, and there's 101 ways for how to fix it, or at least how to alleviate it. And what we find is someone's perception of that they're insomniac is in fact ill thought out, or at least ill-informed. So what I try to do is explain to them, okay, you've only slept 5 hours a night, John. You're only sleeping 5 hours a night, Jill. That doesn't make you an insomniac. It means you're sleeping less than the other person. Okay, so what that does, that can actually calm them down and get a client to essentially subscribe to the idea, oh, I haven't yet got this disease or this symptom, because insomnia can be looked at as a symptom. Why is John or why is Jill not getting to sleep, or why are they getting to sleep and waking up every 5, 10, 20 minutes? Okay, there's always reasons why. Physiological reasons, internal, yeah, and external reasons why. So I would say to yourself, okay, if you sleep 5 hours a night, make a note of it, and then see what you have to do to actually get yourself to where you sleep 5.25, 5.5 hours a night. That's actually progression. Yeah. The nationwide or worldwide organisations generally throw the figure of 8 hours of sleep for adults. I know some younger people can sleep for up to 10 hours because they're young and their bodies are growing. They need sleep, that deep anabolic sleep. That's how they grow, and that's how their brains and their organs and their musculoskeletal frame develops. through sleep and of course nutrition. So as an adult, I would say actually the first thing to do is to say, right, okay, I'm not sleeping well. What can I do to improve my sleep patterns? Now there's loads of apps and there's loads of technology. I would always advise a client to go down that road as almost like close to a last chance saloon. You know, and of course medication and pharmacy should be the last thing. And for that you would need to see your physician or your pharmacist. What I say first is, how much fresh air are you getting every day? And when I say fresh air, I don't mean sitting in the house. I mean actually outdoors, outside the house. Write it down. If you're only getting 10 minutes a day because you work in an office environment and you only step out of your office once a day to go and collect the mail or go and get a coffee, and then you come home and spend your night, afternoon, evening in your house, and you only go out on a Saturday or Sunday to go shopping or something like that, that's not enough. You need more. That's the simple math. John or Jill, you need more fresh air, okay? Whether it be 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, you've got to put that time in to actually try and do things to break the cycle of poor sleep patterns, which again can lead to disease. Now, very poor sleep that is replicated over and over again, it's highly probable that your body will start to store body fat, okay? It needs energy throughout the day for your organs, your brain, and your nervous system to work, not to go running, but just for the main function of your body, some form of homeostasis. It needs your body to have energy. And because you've not got a good night's unbroken sleep, let's say anything between 6 to 8 hours unbroken, what happens is our bodies will then start to store body fat, excess body fat and visceral fat, organ and deep abdominal fat. What it will also do is trigger hormonal changes in the body for us to actually crave high salt, high sugar and high fatty foods, okay? It produces hormones that actually make us think, right, we've not got energy from sleeping, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my energy from eating unhealthy food, candy, sweets, biscuits, cakes, bread, some cereals, fizzy drinks, fruit drinks. You know, we don't automatically think, right, okay, I better go and have some broccoli and some steamed fish. The body's designed to kick in and say, right, we're not sleeping well, we need fast energy from somewhere. You know, our bodies are designed to metabolize food for energy. So we have to get that food in us, that processed food or junk food. And everybody at some time will be susceptible to that. So that is another way of pushing your body, your poor lifestyle of poor sleep. And bearing in mind, some poor sleep patterns are actually, a client recognises them because the way they live, they'll spend all night on their computer screens. They'll still be up at midnight, 1 a.m, typing on a computer screen or a laptop or looking at their phone, wondering what someone else is doing. All right, and with that, what's going to happen is you're not going to go and then sleep 7 hours, sleep till 8, 9 a.m, especially in spring and summer. So make the adjustment, you know, get to bed half an hour to an hour earlier, put your devices down. Everybody knows this now, that electronic devices would keep us awake. They stimulate the nervous system to actually, like a coffee or a fizzy drink, they stimulate you to give you like a false energy to keep you awake. All right, so that is another lifestyle analysis that I would have with a client. Okay, we've looked at do they get enough fresh air? Do they get enough cardiovascular fitness or musculoskeletal strength training, resistance training? Do they get enough quality nutrition? You know, are they smokers? Are they drinkers? Do they work in a stressful environment? All of these things are part of your lifestyle. Now you may think, well, hang on, my job is my job. That's not a lifestyle. It actually is a lifestyle because you've chosen to work in that line of work. If you work in a factory where there's fumes and there's loud noises and machinery, and you're a machinist and you've got a good job, you know how to work machinery and you're well paid for it, great, but it's still not good for your health because you're working in an unhealthy environment. Like what you see at a lot of these places, these picking and packing centres, and you know the big ones, what they call them fulfillment centres, where you'll get hundreds, if not thousands of people in one building working like robots to pick and pack our orders and get them out to us same day, next day. They're not working in healthy environments. Now, they could work in that environment, but spend so much time of their spare time playing sports, you know, keeping healthy, eating good healthy food, getting enough sleep, which can almost, I wouldn't say counter it, but it can balance working in an unhealthy environment. All right, so what I'd like to do is just read a passage from one of my study books here, and it's the benefits of lifestyle analysis. Essentially, If you come to see your trainer, he or she should look at your lifestyle analysis and just look at it and think, okay, right, what can we do? I'm just going to read out a couple of points here. All right, the benefits of lifestyle analysis. We identify patterns of current and past habits, identify barriers to physical activity. We identify current exercise contraindications that may need referrals. We identify risk factors and profiles and for the onset of disease. We identify the current level of self-motivation that a new client has. We look for the current psychological state. Now, we are not here to diagnose the psychological state of a client, but what we are here to do, because we can refer them to a psychiatric doctor or a psychologist of some description, they're not the same. What we can do though is look for signs of someone showing poor psychological balance, and we can tease a question out of them, or they can tell us. We can write things down, address them, and look at them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And if they need referral, we can refer them back to their GP or refer them to, like I say, a psychiatric doctor or a psychologist. All right. Identify the likelihood of adherence. Now, that's something that I do now on a regular basis. I'll use my experience in the consultation and the eye test as well, to give myself an idea if the client, the prospective client, is going to have some form of adherence to what I prescribe them, exercise-wise, and health-wise and nutrition-wise. A client can often give away quite a lot of signs in their body language or their speech, and it's my profession, it's my job and my experience to actually look at that, identify it, make a note of it, and work with the client on how to get over the barriers to them having some form of adherence. Meaning, will that client be okay with taking instruction? Now, you would think that someone of their own means who comes in to see a personal trainer would already made that decision that they're going to be adhere to what he or she prescribes. That's not always the case, because they can come in with a for want of a better word, with a mindset of, I've just read on Google, or my friend at work says this, or my next door neighbour, the gardener, he said that. And that's actually quite something that we find often, that someone will have a preset idea in their head of what it's going to take to get them healthier, because they've seen it on Google, they've seen it on the internet. You know, there's somebody at work has mentioned something, yeah. And what I do, I'll actually understand. I try to understand why that client has articulated that and thought that, and work with them. Don't work against them. Don't work against John. Don't work against Jill. Understand it, accept it, and work with them to get over those barriers or those misconceptions or preconceptions that they've got. Okay, we look for short, medium, and long-term goals. Now, everybody's heard the phrase, you know, what's your goals? What's your goals in health and fitness? And if you've got a long-term goal, it should only be one long-term goal, and that's to be healthier. Yep. Nobody should want you to be unhealthy. Not a family member, not a friend, not a colleague, a next door neighbour, work colleague. No one should want you to be unhealthy. So there's only one long-term goal that should always be the case with every single client, whether they're a raw beginner, a novice, or even a world-class athlete, and that's to get healthier, or remain healthy for as long as you can throughout your life. That's the one goal where I think there's like a parity with every client. Now, a short-term goal could be to lose 10 pounds, 7 pounds of body weight, 4 or 5% of body fat, or actually a short-term goal could be to lose a few inches off the waist because you want to look better and feel better, because you've got a date, or you're going to someone's wedding, or you're going on holiday. I understand that. There's nothing wrong with having short-term goals, yeah, but they're finite. They're not something that we're going to be doing for the rest of our life. You're not going to keep losing weight off your waistline or building bigger arms for the rest of your life. It's unlikely. It's not physically impossible, but it's unlikely. Okay. And of course, what we try to do is establish a positive and professional relationship with a client. Now, positive and professional, that's a matter of opinion, okay? What is a fact is that we can always improve something with a client. We can always say, okay, right, well, this hasn't worked for you today or this week. Let's look at it and understand why it hasn't. Let's do what we can to avoid disease, yeah? There is nothing beneficial to any person on the planet to have disease. There's no benefit to having a form of disease in the body. And remember, your lifestyle is past a certain age, we're taking hereditary away from it. If you're predisposed to high blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic and a resting heart rate, and that's been proved beyond a shadow of a doubt with testing. Yeah, if you're predisposed to having blood clotting in the body, yeah, those are hereditary diseases that can actually be passed on from mother, father, or both. Okay, right, that's not always the case. Quite often, certainly in the Western world, where we have got access to information, we have got access to good food, quite often it's your lifestyle. Your lifestyle is the number one factor past a certain age why you're predisposed to disease. So that's it for today. Just take those things into account and think about it. We talked about different things that can get you, that can speed up the onset of poor health. And if one of those things we talked about today resonates with you and you do it, or you've done it in the past, and you can address it and think, right, okay, what's it going to take to get me to stop smoking? What's it going to take to get me to stop drinking alcohol on a regular basis? What can I do? What can I think about and write down that I can do to stop eating junk food, stop going to bed late at night? And then finally, the one that everybody talks around, certainly January and February, okay, again, new year, new me. Well, we're into February now and people are still thinking like that. I would say exercise. Exercise will improve every part of your body. Now, you may get knocks and bangs, aches and pains, sports injuries. It kind of can come with the territory, especially for those that are older. But remember, if you're new to exercise, your body will, it will actually get stimulated very quickly. Your body will start to adapt quickly with that new stimulation, or as they say in America, I don't know, newbie gains. Yeah. So new stimulation to a new client, your body will change quite quickly. Those that have been exercising all their life, we have to think about it a lot harder or a lot smarter, and make those those small margins to improve their physical health or improve their sport. All right, so back to that again. That was the title from today. Yeah, look to avoid disease by addressing your lifestyle pattern and what you can do. It's very hard to change everything overnight. Okay, so look at one of them and address it straight away. All right. My name's Tristan Lowe and the podcast is the Over 40s Fitness Podcast with Tristan Lowe. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music and Apple, and hopefully some more platforms in the future, Facebook, LinkedIn. Now, what we're going to do now is sign out, and what I would like you to do is subscribe and like and share the channel. It's free content, okay? You're getting it from a professional, someone who's worked in the industry for a long time, and I've dealt with a lot of bodies and a lot of personalities as well, which has taught me a lot more than just what's written in the books. All right, thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.